How do I set up my booth? What do I need to know about pricing my products? Everything. You need to know everything. So this one is obviously a very broad question. This is my serious face. But, so this is where that checklist comes in. So don't undersell yourself. Charge what you're worth. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess and I am a handmade business owner. So today we are going to be talking about craft shows. So there's a ton of craft show videos out there and I didn't really want to do kind of the same, this is the list of inventory you should bring and all the stuff and what to do and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of want to style it as more of a Q&A session. So I just thought of the biggest questions I had when I was starting out as a craft show entrepreneur and wrote them down with some of the things that I've learned over the years. So let's get into it. Okay, I wrote some stuff down so that I didn't forget anything. So I've got my little notes here with me, but there's gonna be 9 questions in total and then I will give answers to each one. So question number 1. How do I know which market to apply to? When I was trying to figure out which markets would be the best fit for me, honestly, when I first started, I just kind of applied to everything and I kind of had to learn the hard way. But I have learned in recent years to do my research. So I talk to other vendors a lot, especially since I've been to a few, I have gotten to know quite a few of them. So I ask other vendors who've been there, ask for their advice, their opinions, whether they'd go back, whether they're regular attenders, that sort of thing. I also go to the event's website if they have it and or social media. If they're frequently posting, if they have a good following, you know it's probably going to be a pretty well attended event, and then you can kind of get a vibe of what kind of makers they're looking for and whether your stuff will be a good fit or not. So definitely check out their socials. It's really easy to do. This one is a maybe if you can attend the market first. If it's a regular recurring market, go to it a few times and you'll easily see whether or not you would be a good fit or not. If it's something that only happens once a year or maybe twice a year and you really don't want to wait, then there's other avenues that you can research first. But going to the market is pretty much the best thing you can do. And then why not reach out to the organizer themselves? Ask questions. If you're serious about attending, I wouldn't just email every organizer you can find and ask them all about their events. Just once you kind of have narrowed it down to what you want to apply to, if you're thinking this is the one and you still have some questions, just reach out to the organizer. Most of them are pretty good. They are busy, so they don't always get back to you right away, but they're all pretty good to fill you in on what's going on. So, also, if you've watched my videos before and you're wondering where the heck I am, our basement flooded. So it's not major or anything, but it's kind of in the middle of a cleanup process and we have fans and heaters going and it's louder than normal. So I am upstairs sitting on my floor actually filming this because it was the only clean corner of the house I could find. So, all right. So question number 2. How do I know how much inventory to bring? So this is going to depend on the market, expected foot traffic, how many days it is, the time of year is going to make a difference. Christmas markets typically tend to do a lot better sales than a February market, you know? So my rule of thumb is to bring 4 times what I expect to make. So if it's one of my bigger markets and you know, I think I'm gonna make $1,000 for the day, then I will bring $4,000 worth of inventory. However, if it's a small market, maybe it's only 3 hours and it's in a church basement and there's no way I'm gonna be selling $500 or $600 worth of inventory. Why would I bring 2,000? My backup rule of thumb is to bring double what you can fill on your table. So if you can fill your table twice, that's usually enough for those smaller markets. So if you have an 8-foot table and you've kind of got your display, you know what's gonna fit, double that, easy as that. So that's my advice. So 4 times what you expect to sell, so that way you're never running out of stuff. My dog's whining at the door, sorry. Or double your table. So 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So my goal when planning on how much inventory to bring, if it's a bigger market, is always to go home with 1 bin of empty goods. I mean, we all dream of selling out of everything and going home with nothing, with an empty vehicle, but ideally you do want to keep at least one full table's worth of inventory. Just looks better because it attracts the customers more when it looks like a proper retail setting. So that's why we bring extra, so that we sell more, but we definitely don't want to have that like sold out look, because when your table looks empty, it just doesn't look as good. And in my opinion, you'd lose sales. So that's how much inventory I would recommend bringing. Of course, it's going to vary depending on what you make. If you are a really high-end artist and you're only bringing 5 pieces because they're $12,000 a piece and whatever, you know, obviously you're not gonna bring 72 of them. You're gonna bring, you know, your one of a kind couple of pieces. But if you are like most makers and you sell stationery or candles or jewelry or anything else really, clothing, bring lots. It makes it look good. Okay, moving on. Question number 3, what are the costs associated with attending craft shows? So obviously this is a very broad category and there are a ton of little costs all over the place, especially if it's your first one, because you're gonna have to, there's startup costs involved. There's a lot of things that you only have to buy once, but you should buy for the first one. So I'm just gonna go over the main and major ones. So the first one is obvious, the market fee itself. These can range from free to thousands of dollars. I was actually asked to apply to a market. I don't really know how that works. They reached out to me and invited me to apply, so I'm assuming I would have gotten in. But it was the One of a Kind show in Toronto, and I was super excited about it because that's crazy. But I looked up their booth sizing and they charge by the foot. So I looked at their regular size booths and they were between $2,000 and $3,000 a piece. And Toronto is about 4 hours away from me, so it's not like I could just drive home every day. I would have to get a hotel to sleep in. I'd have food, accommodations, gas to get there. It's a huge show, so I would need more than just my little car to bring all my stuff down. So it was too out of my budget for the place I'm at in my business right now, although I was honored. So maybe next year or maybe even in the fall, we'll see. But even when I looked at like their smaller booth fees, because they charge by the foot, they have like an introductory one and you can get like a 2x3 space, which would be enough for me to put like a couple of tall racks in basically. And it was $900. So just a little too on the pricey end. But my typical market is between, I'd say $40 and $150. My most expensive market is $350, but it's $150 a day plus tax. And I usually pay for an extra table because it's a big space and I only have one. So just look into it when you'll know when you apply, before you apply, how much the market's gonna be. But the smaller like afternoon or morning markets are usually like $20 to $60, depending on how well attended they are and the time of year. And then the bigger ones can go up to, you know, $100 a day, that sort of thing. That's pretty average. So that's what to expect for market cost. The next thing that you may or may not need, but is important to think about, is insurance. So there are some events that will require you to have insurance. You'll either have to bring proof of your own insurance, and you can just get coverage from you. If you don't have like regular monthly insurance for your business, you can just go to your insurance company and get coverage for the day or the weekend or whatever it is, naming the town or the event as liable. Oh, delivery guy's here to pick up my packages. Or sometimes the venue will have insurance and you'll just have to pay additional. So there was a couple that I did last year because I didn't have insurance and I had to pay an extra $60 for the weekend to have, on top of my vendor fee, to have coverage, insurance coverage. It's to, you know, to keep us safe, to keep them safe should anything go wrong. So that's normal. I pay, so that's all included in mine. And then should somebody require that I have it, I just email my insurance company and say, hey, can you print me a certificate naming these people as additionally insured? And it doesn't cost anything extra and they just do it and it's done. So it's a little bit variable. I do recommend having it. I think I have 2 million coverage for events. But that's been enough for me so far. You just have to see what the venue wants, and sometimes they don't need anything. If you are a food vendor, I am not a food vendor, so I don't know a lot about it. However, I do know that you need to have some sort of certificate, at least in Canada, from like the health unit, stating that all your food has been cooked in an approved kitchen and that sort of thing. So they're pretty strict about that, and they do usually come around during the event to make sure that you have all your paperwork in order. So and a lot of event organizers won't let you in if you're a food person, unless you have that paperwork, because they don't want to get in trouble either. The next sort of major cost associated is only if you're doing outdoor markets, and that's a tent. So I have a tent because I do a couple of outdoor markets a year. I don't do many because I don't like them, because the weather's always horrible when I do them, no matter what. But if you are planning on doing them regularly or attending a farmer's market for the summer, you will need a tent. It will keep you protected from the sun and the wind and the rain, but get a good one is my only advice. I got mine off Amazon, and it's an ABC canopy tent, I think. You can hear my dog's nails clicking. I'm very sorry. He needs a nail trim. I love it. It's very sturdy. The only thing I don't like about it is that it kind of requires 2 people. I could do it by myself, but it's really hard to set up by myself. So I usually, if I do an outdoor market, which I don't do many, I usually have to get somebody to come and help me, which is not a big deal on the weekend because my husband will come, but during the week, I'm kind of solo. So I love my tent. I think mine was about $200. Don't get a cheap one from, Target or Walmart or whatever. They're not going to hold up in the weather. Make sure you've got good weights, that sort of thing. You want something that's going to be reliable. It's going to last. It sucks to bite the bullet and pay, $2 to $7 to $8 to $900 for a good one, but it's worth it. And get white. There are some events that will only let you put up a white tent, so don't. I know it's exciting and you want to get a hot pink one to match your brand or black or whatever, but some people aren't picky, but a lot of them are white tents only because it makes the whole thing look really good. So if you can, go with white and invest in a good one. Obviously, if you're only doing indoor markets, that's irrelevant to you. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention with extra costs, or with a cost associated, is extra inventory. So it may seem like a no-brainer, but I know for myself anyways, and a lot of other makers that I know, when they're first getting started in craft shows, if they're selling at all anywhere else, it's usually made to order. So they, make little bits at a time here and there. Whereas when you're making for a craft show, you need to make a lot at once, which means you're going to need to purchase a lot more materials, a lot more of everything in order to make your goods. So it's something that people don't always think about right off the bat. So I just wanted to mention that. Question number 4. How do I set up my booth? So this one is obviously a very broad question. Pinterest will be your best friend here. That's all I can say. When I started craft shows, I searched just craft show setups. And you can get specific. If you sell candles, type in craft show setup for candles, or candle display, or retail displays for whatever your product is, and you will get some really good ideas. That's where I got most of my ideas. I sell wooden kitchenware. So how do you display a rolling pin, or cutting boards or measuring spoons? So actually I use, for my rolling pins, I got this beautiful black and wrought iron with wood base things, wine rack. So what you'd normally slide your wine bottles into, and I slide my rolling pins into it, and it looks so good. So get creative with things. And I just gotta say this, if you can DIY your retail or display pieces, do it, because it can get really expensive really fast. Some of the things out there, although it's convenient, and if you have the money, go for it by all means, because it'll save you a lot of time. But if you're like most of us, definitely look into some DIYs. Obviously Pinterest is phenomenal for that. So I would definitely just do your research, and you can look up different display layouts. So if you've got an 8x8 space or just a table, you're gonna just kind of Google things, and you'll get a lot of ideas. And if you go to a lot of craft shows, look at people's things, ask permission first. But if you really like the way a thing is set up, just talk to the vendor and say, hey, I'm setting up for my first craft show. I really like the way you're set your displays. Do you mind if I take a photo for inspiration so I can figure out how to set mine up in a similar way? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say yes. Obviously you're not there to steal all their product ideas and remake what they're doing. You're just looking at their display setups themselves. So yeah, most people are pretty good with that. I've had people ask me that before, and I have asked other people before, and I've never had an issue. So it's also really important to have a variety of different heights on your table. So we'll just say we're working with an 8-foot table because that's typical of the smaller ones. You want to make sure that you have got a variety of heights. Do not ever just lay all your stuff flat on a table. Nobody's going to see that from across the room. You're going to be, when people walk in, they scan the room. And generally, if there's something that they see that catches their eye right away, they're either going to head right there or they're going to make a point of going there to see what's going on. You'll get the odd person who's still going to come up and just look at every table, no matter what it looks like. But if you've got a variety of heights, you're training their eye to follow it. So they're going to be looking up here at this, and then they're going to kind of go down and look at this. And they spend more time at your table looking at everything because it takes them longer to be able to see everything, just with the visual stimulation of the heights and the depths and everything like that. And feel free to have some things like on a bench below the table, so it's down in front of them, and stuff behind you on the wall if the space allows, if you have a wall behind you. Just really get some depth in your booth. That's the most important thing. It will keep people there longer, and you'll have more time to engage with them and interact and chat with them, and they can ask you questions, and it just makes for a better show for everybody. And then my last tip for booth setup is to do a mock setup at home. So if you have an outdoor event, set up the tent that you bought, set up your tables, all your stuff, and do the whole thing in your tent. When it's in your tent, you know the space you're working with, so you can kind of finalize how you like everything. But if it's indoors or at a table, or you're not really sure what your space is gonna look like, if you don't have a table, get some tape and mark it out on the floor or on your driveway or wherever, and create the space that you think you're gonna have. So an 8-foot length by however deep a table is. They usually give you probably 4 feet deep, just so that you have space for your table and behind and all that stuff. Do a mock setup, but do a variety of setups, because I don't know how many times I've gotten to shows and I'm supposed to have an 8-foot space and all of a sudden I have 12 feet and I'm like, what am I gonna do with all this extra space? I've got to spread everything out. Now it looks empty. So I also always bring extra display pieces just to be, just in case. And then sometimes I've also gotten there and had way less space, and I've had to kind of go more vertical or behind me or below me. So practice your setup the way you prefer to have it, but don't be fixed with it. Be flexible, bring extra pieces just in case, and really get comfortable with playing with your display so that A, you are faster at it when the time comes to actually set it up, because I mean, sometimes you could have the night before or just the morning of. Sometimes they only give you like an hour or two to set up, and sometimes they give you half a day. So the faster you are, the better. That's a chainsaw. The house across the road from me is getting some work done to it. Apologies. All right, question 5. What do I need to know about pricing my products? Everything. You need to know everything. First things first. If you don't know how to price your products, if this is your first event, you're gonna wanna make sure that you are profitable. If it costs you $5 to make it, don't sell it for $6. You are not gonna make any money. You are going to work your butt off leading up to this event. And if you're not profitable, it's not worth it for you to do it. You won't really understand until after the market is over if this is your first one, but it takes a lot of time and energy and money and effort to get ready and to do these things. My typical markup cost, some of my stuff is a little bit broader than this just because I've been doing it for a while and I have the space to increase my margins, but base markup is your cost times 2. And that will give you a wholesale cost. Whether or not you're selling wholesale, you should have this included, and I'll get into this in a minute. And then you take that wholesale cost and you times it by 2 again. So if your item is $5 to make, and you times that by 2, that's $10. If you times it by 2 again, that's $20. So if you have a necklace, it's $5 to make, you should be charging minimum $20 for it. I know, this is my serious face, but it's important. You have to have the profit margins built in. Otherwise, it's not worth your time. This is a handmade item. It's not something you went to the dollar store for. It's not something that people picked up at a yard sale. And be confident in your prices. If people see how confident you are, they will appreciate it. They will appreciate the value of the product, of the time it took you. People who are at craft markets are not people who are, there are some, but they're not typically the ones who are out there looking for a deal. They know that these are handmade quality products and they are willing to pay for it. So don't undersell yourself. Charge what you're worth. Okay, lecture over. The next thing to know about pricing products is to put a price on every single piece or have a price list. So if you have things that are, if everything is all a different price, price each product. If you have, like me, all of my measuring spoon sets are $38. All of my rolling pins are $90, that sort of thing. So I just have a big list. The only thing that varies is my boards. So I just have on my big list saying boards individually priced, and then they all have their own tags for what they are. People won't ask you the price. One, they'll be too nervous. If I go to something and I really like something, I'm like, ooh, this is probably out of my budget. And I'm afraid to ask how much it is, because if it's out of my budget, then I feel awkward and uncomfortable having to be like, oh, thanks, and putting it down and walking away. Whereas if I look at the price tag, say it's not for me, I can smile and walk away and nobody knows any different. And if you are talking to somebody else, they're not gonna stand around and wait for you to be available to answer their question. Just put the price on the thing. It's not that hard. Some people say it's a good strategy to not do it so that they have to talk to you, but most people aren't going to talk to you. You're going to lose sales. You're going to lose sales. Don't do it. It's bad advice. Just price everything. It's going to make it easier for you, less work. It's going to make the customer more comfortable, and they have an idea too then. If they go up to something and everything is in their price range, then they're happily grabbing and shopping and whatever. But if they go up, like my cheapest item right now is $36. I am bringing in a cheaper item. We'll get into that in a minute too. But if people see that the cheapest thing is $36, and you know, they only brought 20 bucks with them, they're not going to waste their time in my booth. They're going to go somewhere else, and that's fine. You're not going to appeal to everyone, but you do want to appeal to your ideal customer. Okay. I just recorded the last 30 minutes. I recorded the next few things. I was almost done and realized that my phone died. So none of it recorded. So we're starting over. Here we go. To finish off the what do I need to know about pricing my products question, the last thing that I wanted to recommend is having a bit of a range in your product. So if you can have a low, mid, and high price range, just so you can appeal to a bit of a wider audience. You still want to attract your ideal customers, but sorry, I had a slice of pizza while I was waiting and now I'm all self-conscious. But I have food in my teeth. I should probably check that. You want to have a low, mid, and high price range so that you can, it's just a good way to kind of bring in new customers. You know, you have regular customers who are coming back, then, you know, and they go for the mid to higher price range items. Well, it's not a big deal then for them to just add on a keychain at the last minute for a couple bucks kind of thing. So that's my advice for pricing your products. Question number 6, what should I bring to the market? So this is where that checklist comes in that everybody has. I am gonna go over my checklist really quick. I have the same checklist and I print it off when I'm packing my car so that I can check everything off as it goes in, so I know I haven't forgotten anything. So I'm just gonna read it off really quickly and then we'll go over kind of the things that I can elaborate on a little bit. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so I'm gonna look over here because that's where my laptop is. So inventory, cash, card reader, bags, tent if you're outside, tables if they're not providing it, chair if not provided, tablecloth, display pieces. I always bring a little bucket full of pens, paper, scissors, tape, extra price tags, lip chap, water and food, layers of clothing, comfy shoes, Tylenol, Advil, Tums if needed, phone and phone charger, business cards, and signage. So obviously most of them are pretty self-explanatory. As far as cash and card reader go, I typically bring about a $60 float with loonies and toonies and ones and twos if you're not Canadian. I don't know what everybody else calls them. And some 5s and 10s. I will sometimes bring a 20 just in case somebody hands me a $100 bill right off the bat. And then I recently started charging HST. So I also bring a few little smaller changes like pennies and nickels, dimes, quarters, that sort of thing, just in case it rounds out to a weird number. If you think you'll be selling more cash, you could do a higher float, like $100 to $200 float. But if you think you're going to be more card, then go down to a lower $50, $60 float would be lots. As far as card readers go, I started out with a free one. I use Square card readers, but Shopify and PayPal, and there's probably a bunch of other ones have them as well. So just use whatever one, do your research and see which one you like best. Most people use Square. It's pretty good. I started it with their free one. However, the free one, you plug into your phone and it's just a swipe and it's only credit card. Whereas when I upgraded to the next one, which was about $60 Canadian, it's tap, or they can insert and they do credit card or debit card. So I get a lot of debit sales, like a lot of debit sales. So I accept cash, debit, credit, and e-transfer just because some people like to e-transfer, but totally worth the $60. You will make your money back in no time. If you can afford it, do it. If not, start with the free one. It's not a big deal. Tablecloth is the other thing I wanted to bring up. I know it's an obvious one, but my recommendation there would be to use a neutral one. Some people get really excited over the holidays and they want to do a big Christmas one with reds and greens and Christmas balls everywhere, and it's really distracting. Like, it really takes away from the display, I find. So if you just stick with a neutral tablecloth, the point of the tablecloth is to cover the table, anything underneath, and make it look like a smooth, nice selling surface. It is not meant to be this big elaborate thing. You don't want people to be looking at your tablecloth instead of your products. So stick with a plain one. Water and food, I always recommend bringing water and not like pops and sugary drinks, because you're going to be on your feet all day, so you want to stay hydrated and energized. And as far as food goes, I usually bring one like sweet thing for the end of the day, just to kind of give me that little sugar boost to get me to the end of the day. But otherwise, I pack healthy snacks all day long that I can just kind of munch on. I always bring like finger foods, so like grapes or little cheese cubes or just bite-sized things, so that when someone's not around, I can quickly pop it into my mouth. Whereas if you're eating like a big burger, it's kind of hard when somebody comes up and your hands are all a mess and everything's messy. So that's just me. Bring whatever you want, but and they usually have food there that you can buy too. But I always go with the impression, like, I'm there to make money. So I don't usually buy from other vendors, although you're more than welcome to. Lots of people buy from me, and I see other people buying from each other all the time. But I am here as a business and I want to make money. So I don't go and spend a whole lot of money. Mind you, if I have like a phenomenal day, I don't feel so bad about buying something. Oh, hi, buddy. You're going to knock my camera. Get, shoo, shoo, shoo. Good boy. And then what else do I have on here? Comfy shoes. Unless you are selling handmade stilettos, please wear comfortable shoes. You know, if you need to model the product, that's one thing. I understand that. But you're going to be on your feet all day, and it's not just for the 4 to 8 hours of the event. It's the setup, and it's the takedown after, and it's the drive there, and it's a long day, and you want to be comfortable. And layers obviously are pretty self-explanatory. It starts out cold and gets warm, or vice versa. You want to make sure that you're comfortable all day long. And then business cards. I still have business cards, although I am trying to get out of them. I find they're just kind of a waste of money. I don't get a lot of calls from them. What I really get a lot of these days is like Instagram follows and Facebook follows. So I'm gonna have somebody make me this cute little wooden thing, and it's gonna hold my Square reader in it, and it'll have like laser engraved on it the QR codes for Facebook, Instagram, my website, and YouTube. And then people who are interested can just scan it and it's done. I'm still gonna have a few paper things just because there are certain people who aren't really technologically advanced and prefer paper. So if somebody really asks for one, I'll keep a couple behind the desk maybe, and I usually stuff my bags with some, like a business card and a thank you card. So I'm probably gonna get rid of the business card, but I will put the thank you card in there, which will have ways of getting hold of me should they make a purchase and want to stay in touch. So, and then signage, I have like a sign and that has my business name on it. I have my price list because I don't price my products individually. And then I also have one, it's like a cute little picture frame that says, "Are you a business owner?" ask Jess how we can work together or something like that. It says it in some sort of nice way. Oh, sorry, construction. So lots of signage so people know what's going on. It just makes things easier. And then I kind of skipped this one, but bags. This is just like a preference thing that I've noticed, but people prefer paper bags over plastic bags. First of all, bring bags. There's nothing that people hate more than having to like walk away with 7 items that they have no arms for, and they've got 6 other bags. And so I actually have like slightly oversized bags, because then if somebody doesn't have a bag from someone else, they can put their stuff in my bag and then I'm the hero. But yes, I've noticed that people prefer paper over plastic just because it's more environmentally friendly. It's pretty, they got the little handles on them, and if you have a stamp, you can stamp your logo on it. So yeah, so that is my craft show checklist. That is what I recommend. Kind of baseline bringing. Obviously everyone's going to be a little bit different. I also bring like, since I've started my YouTube channel, I now bring my tripod so that I can film time lapses of me setting up and at the show and that sort of thing. But that's not on my checklist. That's not, because that's sort of more specific to me, right? So that is that. Apologies for the noise outside. We're almost done. Question number 7, should I do a giveaway? That is totally up to you. I've seen some that do phenomenal and some that flop. I have tried a couple, they work okay for me, they don't work great. If you decide to do one, here's a few things that you should consider. Give away one of your products or services. Do not give away an iPad or a gift card to a local shopping store or Amazon thing or like whatever. You're gonna get everyone under the sun. If you try to appeal to everybody, you're gonna get everybody, and you're not gonna get the point of a giveaway is to get something in return. So you are trying to appeal to your ideal customers. So give away one of your products or services or a gift card to your business if you don't want to give away a physical product, and you will draw in people who are actually interested in you and your brand. Now, I said you're going to want to ask for something in return. That is ideally going to be their email for a newsletter sign up. If you're pretty new and you haven't started an email newsletter yet, I would definitely look into it. I use Klaviyo as my email service provider, and I love them. And if I do giveaways or discounts, sometimes I don't usually do giveaways anymore. I find they don't really work for me, but I do, will sometimes put up a sign that says $5 off your purchase if you join our newsletter today, or 10% off or something like that. And then if people want a bit of a discount when they buy that day, then they give me their email and I sign them up for my newsletter. They're ideally going to want to get their email. I've also seen giveaway entries with purchase. So make a purchase and enter to win a draw. I've seen follow us on social media and we will enter you in. And then sometimes people do giveaways just to kind of spread the brand awareness. So however you want to do it is fine, but you should have a reason for doing the giveaway. It should not just be, I'm going to give away some free product and just drop your name and number in this thing, because you really, there's got to be a purpose behind it. Okay. If you're trying to think of giveaway ideas, again, Pinterest is your best friend. There's loads of different ideas on there. So my favorite one, I've never done it, but I've seen it done a couple times. And my favorite is when they do like the spin the wheel. Obviously it's a little bit more expensive. All you really need is a pen and a paper and whatever you're giving away, and say, write down your info here. But if you want to be elaborate with it, I really like the spin the wheel one. So people will spin the wheel and you can do like when they're making a purchase so they can get a slight discount or maybe a free product or samples or whatever. But someone told me about one once where it was a pizza place and every single slot was like try again, except for one was a free slice of pizza, and there was a huge crowd around and everyone was chanting pizza, 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 and obviously the wheel worked for them. But I mean, do whatever works for your business. There's lots of different things. I've seen some people do like a Plinko board where they drop the little thing in it all the way down, and whatever it lands on is your prize. So you can have everyone is a winner, or you can have, only 1 or 2 winners or whatever. Totally your thing. Obviously you don't have to go to that extreme. Just look on Pinterest. There's like so many different giveaway ideas. I just think that's a really fun one, so I wanted to share. Question number 8. What to do and what not to do while you're at the market. So we're going to start with what to do while you're at the market. We'll look at my notes. Introduce yourself to your neighbors. You're going to be vending beside them all day long or all weekend long or all week long. And if you're like me and you're doing these shows alone, especially, you're going to have to pee at some point. You're going to need a water break. You might just need some fresh air. You might have to run down and do something. And you don't want to leave your booth unattended. So if you introduce yourself, get to know your neighbors a little bit, be friendly, then they'll watch your booth while you're gone and you can watch theirs. And it's a good way to establish relationships. And you never know what's going to happen in the future. I was put next to a person who had never been to a craft show before one time, and she just started a sourdough company. She was baking sourdough breads out of her home, and today she's got her own storefront, and I sell my stuff in her store very regularly. So she contacted me. We stayed in touch, and when she got the storefront, she contacted me. I loaded her up with my stuff, and I have a new wholesale account. So you just never know. So introduce yourself to your neighbors. Super important. Be friendly to people. Don't sit in the back of your booth all awkwardly and uncomfortably. I know it's hard to put yourself out there, but just smile when people go by. Say hi if they come in and they look like they're interacting. Compliment them. Be sincere. If you like their hat, tell them you like their hat. If you have nothing nice to say, just smile and say hello. But it makes people feel a lot more comfortable when they're shopping with you. I mean, don't do this and stare them down and get all creepy with them. Just keep it casual, keep it friendly. It goes a long way. Stand up is the other thing, and be engaging if you're able, obviously. If you have mobility issues, do whatever you're able to do, but standing up and being present and in the moment really makes a big difference when you're selling something and when you're trying to sell your products and you're kind of selling a little bit of yourself with it. So be engaging, stand up, be in the moment with them if you're able to. What I like to do, last tip for things to do, I like to take a tour of the venue before we get started. One, so that I know what's kind of there. I've had lots of people come up and say, oh, I was looking for goat's milk soap and I haven't found any. And I can say, oh, so-and-so down the road here has it, 3 booths over. They're not looking for what I'm selling, so it doesn't matter. Send them on, keep them happy. They're gonna remember that you are the one who helped them out at this giant market or whatever. And it also, you'll as you do these more, you'll see people that you know. It's nice to say hi, have a little chat. Then they know that you're there too, and they can do the same. They can refer people to you. So just kind of get a good layout before the market starts, once everybody's pretty well set up and before they let people in. And just get familiar with the space, get comfortable. What should I avoid doing while I'm at the market? Number one thing, stay off your phone. There is nothing more frustrating when I go into somebody's booth as a shopper and they're sitting on the back. They haven't even noticed that I'm showing up. I'm picking up their stuff. I'm looking, I'm clearly interested, and they are totally ignoring me. And I have to say, excuse me. Nobody should ever have to do that. You are only there for so many hours. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat can wait. It's not important at all. What is important is that customer at that moment wanting to spend their money on something that you made. So be there, be with them, stand up when they come if you can, and engage with them. You don't have to be like the pushy salesman. Just being there and making even brief eye contact to let them know that when they're ready, you're ready is all they need. So do that. It's so frustrating. It's my pet peeve. I hate when people do that. Get off your phone. It's not that hard. My second tip for things not to do while at the show is if it's a slow event or you're not making a lot of sales or nobody's making sales and there's not much foot traffic and the vendors are all kind of chatting amongst themselves, try to avoid bashing the event. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the moment and they say, oh, so-and-so's markets are always like this. I don't know why I do this, or, oh, this is the third slow one in a row, or blah, blah, blah. Word will get back to the organizers and you will not be invited back. You don't want to have that kind of name for yourself as somebody who trash talks everything. And if other customers hear that, what are they going to think, right? Like, you be professional. Just be professional, be courteous. Even if you're feeling that way in the moment, don't engage in that sort of conversation. It's just not professional. So if you have a bad day, keep it to yourself, go home, vent, have a glass of wine, and it'll be fine tomorrow. So that's my tips for that. Okay, guys, last tip. Okay, last question. The market is over. Is there anything I need to do after? So many things. Yes, the answer is yes. There's so many things you need to do. First of all, when you get home, unpack everything. I know you're tired and you don't want to, but at least, even if you keep it in the bins, put them where they belong so that you can sort and organize after. Do not leave it all in your car. Don't throw it in your garage or in your basement. Just unpack it as best as you can when you get home, and then it's done and you don't have to worry about it. Okay? Second, if you did a giveaway and you didn't do the draw at the event, do your draw right away so that you can contact them and notify them right away, because people will be waiting to hear about that. Post on social media. Do a quick little post, whatever socials you're on, just to say thank you to everyone who came out and supported. Thank you to the organizers for putting on a great show. Shout out anybody that you want to. If you want to hear, and it works with your giveaway if you did one, post that you will either be drawing the giveaway or that you did and so is the winner, or that the winner will be contacted via whatever method. Just a quick little post on social just to thank everybody for showing their support to you, whether the event was a success or not. Play it up a little bit. Sometimes I've had shows where I've only had one sale and I was like, thank you to everybody. It was so great. Because it just looks good and professional and it keeps people engaged. Social media is a lie, everyone. I don't know. If you collected emails, so next thing to do, if you collected emails, make sure to put everybody's emails into your newsletter. Sign up. Like I said, I use Klaviyo, however you want to say it. I don't know. And send out an email to everyone, thanking them all for signing up for your newsletter, thanking them for their purchase if they made a purchase, or for signing up for the giveaway. Announce the giveaway winner again there if that's where you're doing it. Next, if you had any leads, okay, so you don't have to do all this like the night you get home. You're gonna do this within like the first few days after the show. I should have started with that. Don't feel like you're gonna have to be up till 3 o'clock in the morning doing all these things. Reach out to any leads or opportunities that may have presented themselves while they're at the show. So if you had somebody who came up to you and asked about wholesale, reach out to them. Say, hey, it was great connecting with you. I just wanted to touch base. Here's my contact info. If you'd like to chat more about whatever we were chatting about, let's do it. Any opportunities about collaborations? I've definitely had some collaborations pop up. People who wanted to do like Mother's Day giveaways or something like that. And, just connect, touch base, see where everybody's at with that sort of stuff. Go over your stats for the event past. So how much money did you end up spending in preparation for the show? How much money did you end up making? Was it successful financially? Was it successful in other ways? How was the foot traffic? Was it your first time going? Was it your fourth time going? What did other people say? What are things that you noticed at the show that you would like to make changes, or that you really liked, or that you would like to do going forward in other events? I usually keep a notebook at the show and write things down as I think of them, or if I see somebody else's booth, then I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea, and I'll write it down. And then I kind of keep track of all that, and I go over my stats at the end of each show. Another thing to do, this is something I do right after the show before I even go home, typically, if it's in my way at all, is go to the bank and deposit any of the cash that you made during the show. Just then it's there, and then when all of your other transfers come in from your debit and credit sales, then everything will be there, and then you can disperse your money however you normally do so. And the last thing to do is to put your feet up and relax. You just had a crazy, crazy busy day, weekend, week, however long it was, and the preparation leading up to it could have been weeks or months, and it's exhausting, and you deserve a break. And no matter how it went, just know that you did your best. You did great. You did all that you could, and everything else was left to fate. And regardless of how much money you did or didn't make, you deserve a nice, relaxing evening doing whatever it is you enjoy doing. For me, it would be putting my feet up, having the kids on me, watching a movie, drinking a glass of wine before bed. So I hope you guys found these tips to be helpful, maybe a little bit different than what you would normally find online. So we did sort of a Q&A style, so something a little bit different for you is, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me, post in the comments below if there's anything major that I missed. There's so much advice that I could give. I could talk about craft shows for days. So I just really wanted to cover sort of the major things. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out, put it in the comments, send me an email. It's in my channel bio somewhere. I am happy to help, happy to answer any questions. I've been doing this I've been doing craft shows for about 5 years now, so I've kind of got the hang of it. I'm still not an expert, but I definitely know my way around it a little bit better than I used to anyways. So I just wanted to thank you guys all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.